I'm not sure. Can you guys hear us now? Maybe you can go to the music at the all the way to the right, where you see the little pumpkin. Keep going.
Pumpkin.
And see if you can. Yep, right there. Oh, we had our own future pop theme song going on. Okay. I think we're good. You guys ready?
I'm ready if you are. I'm ready for that future pop. All right, well, let's try again. That future pop. It's Halloween, you know. There's stuff floating around
in the air.
I'm getting a text again from somebody. Put your yeah. Thanks for that text, Rondi. Text your daughter next time. No, I'm just playing.
Hey, Rondi.
No, I'm just playing. I
Dream
said
stream.
just Halloween dream stream. Welcome. We're gonna have fun tonight. You know, as I was saying earlier, lots of people celebrate darkness on this day, and we don't want to do that. We want to celebrate the light, and we want to celebrate how God speaks to us through dreams. And one of the things that we're passionate about here at CCS is that you know, dreams are a way that God communicates to us, and it's something that if we pay attention to, we will find ourselves part of a story that God has for us, and we can it's beyond all we can ask or think, especially when we connect it to His Word. And we're just gonna jump right in. You know, so many people around this time, they have I just want to talk real briefly. I want to open it up about nightmares and warfare dreams, because sometimes there can be a little bit of confusing, because both of them are super intense. Both of them have a lot of emotion to it, but there's a difference between the two. And with warfare dreams, a lot of times there's a fight, there's intense emotion, there is there's a battle, there's pain in almost in the dream, but there's a victory of some kind where you come out on the other side victorious. And I may have shared this dream last year, but it's just an illustration that always pops into my mind when I think about it. I once had a dream where I was in a classroom and there was a vampire in the classroom, and I was like, "There's a vampire in the classroom," and I stood up and I just started punching this thing. I started punching it in the face. I started punching it in the torso area. And every time I punched it, it felt like I was hitting concrete. It just felt so hard every time I hit it. And I managed to punch a little bit, and I punched it out of the classroom, down the hall, and it got back far enough to where I was like, okay, that's done. And I came back and I was out of breath, and then in the dream I could see where the vampire then changed into a cartoon, and it looked like a cartoon, and it came back into the classroom, and everybody was like, hooray. And I said, that's the same dang thing. I said, dang, I'm from the South. I said that in the dream. I was like, same dang thing. And I started punching it again, and I punched it all the way down the hall, and I came back, and I was exhausted. And the teacher in the classroom said, that was very good. You've done very well. And he said, get ready, because Frankenstein is coming.
Oh my gosh.
And then that was the end of the dream. Now that's kind of a warfare type training dream. You had a nasty vampire, you know, I mean, it had blood dripping from its fangs and all that kind of stuff going on. But that was a dream where it was like, I'm going to recognize things that suck the life out of people.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to recognize that in whatever form it takes, whether it looks like it's innocent or overtly evil.
That's so good.
I'm going to be able to fight that. So I woke up from that dream, and a warfare dream also, a lot of times when you wake up from it, you feel exhausted. You don't even feel like you've slept. You're just like, whatever. And there often can be almost similar to a nightmare. You can have an intense emotion attached to it. You know, I've had dreams where I've woken up that are warfare dreams where I'm like, You know, I've had
Am I alive?
I've had appendages, cut off, and I'm like, oh my God, my arm's still here. Thank you, Jesus.
It's really you're just sleeping on your arm.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's a warfare dream. Now, a nightmare is a little bit different in the fact that a nightmare is just 100% dark with no redemption in it. There's nothing that happens in it that's good. There is just a total loss, total destruction, total annihilation of anything is good that's good happens in the dream. And when you wake up, you feel depressed, you feel scared, you feel you feel wore out too, but you feel wore out with no hope. It's kind of like if you've ever played sports, there's sometimes where you play a game and even if you lose, you know you did your best. This one is like, I don't even need to be alive. I suck at fighting so much. Yeah. And so a nightmare is there's a couple things to remember about a nightmare. It's the enemy's way of trying to intimidate you out of the spirit realm. He's basically acting like a bully, coming up and kind of shoving you and going, hey, you get out of here, get out of here. And when you have a nightmare, you have to purpose in your heart to say, I'm not going to let this dream intimidate me in what it's the message that it's trying to convey. I'm going to, and this is one of the ways you get rid of nightmares actually too, is when you wake up, do the opposite of what that dream is trying to intimidate you by it. So many people have dreams worldwide of being choked in a dream where, something comes in, grabs their throat, they can't talk, they can't use their voice. And then they're trying to say the name Jesus, and then they're able to say the name Jesus, and then the dream ends, right? A lot of people have had that dream. And so, what is that? That's the enemy trying to say, like, you're not going to use your voice, right? You're not going to use your voice, and you're not going to. So, the opposite of that is when you wake up in the morning is to purposely sing a worship song, share the gospel with somebody. And that is like you throwing the first punch and punching the enemy in the mouth when you do that. And the enemy will stop trying to intimidate you in that realm if you start punching him. And that's what you gotta, I think that we've gotten past the part where we just passively accept nightmares is that has to be our reality, that we have to just sit here and take it. No, I can wake up and I can punch. If you're going to do this to me, I'm going to do this for you. If you're not going to give me any sleep, I'm not going to give you any sleep. You're going to be mad. I'm going to do something to make the devil mad. If you have a nightmare, do something to make the devil mad.
That's good.
Make that your goal to do. And that's one of the things, one of the questions you want to ask yourself when you have a nightmare. What is the opposite of what this nightmare is trying to intimidate you in? What is the opposite spirit of it? Move in that. And if you do that, it cuts down a lot on the nightmares. Of course, there's two reasons you can have nightmares. You can have it because the enemy's just trying to mess with you, or you can have an open door in your house. You can have an object in your house, something that invites those things in. I remember when I lived in Africa, I had a guy who bought some African Idol masks at the market, and he came back and I was like, bro, what are you doing? And he goes, well, they're just masks. And everybody, I had nightmares for like 3 nights. And the guy, one of my roommates who wasn't even really the most spiritual person, was kind of like on the fence about whether some of that was real. He's having nightmares all the time. And so we get rid of the masks. Long story short, no more nightmares, right? So some of that, it's a good question to ask yourself. Now that's an overtly evil thing. That's just kind of like, not wisdom on his part. That's a nice way to say it. But you ask the Lord this, is there anything displeasing in my home to you?
Yeah.
And see that gives it a little bit of a, takes it out of the realm of the occult, so to speak, overtly occult things like, I know like if you read books, they talk about Ouija boards and stuff like that. I don't know if people use Ouija boards anymore because I don't think honestly people can spell well enough to use a Ouija board. So I don't know if people still use
They
this.
just make movies about them
Maybe
now.
they do, or maybe they do. Maybe they do abbreviations now. Like what is WUT? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway,
Well, John, too, I
get
was
rid of
thinking
those.
about like nightmares can also come from lies that you believe, and that
Yeah,
which is talking about that open
yeah.
door that you're talking about.
That is something
Yeah.
that the enemy can kind of try to come in and plant those things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's a good point that you said. That is like nightmares can be like seeds of lies.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
look at it that way, that's
Mhm.
another.
And it could also be like the Lord and His grace too, using that nightmare to uncover a lie that He wants to deal with. And so we see that with some of our dreams that we're interpreting tonight.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see that there's a little bit of a difference between a self-conditioned dream, which comes from the Lord, and then a nightmare, which is from the enemy.
Mm.
A mistake that people make sometimes with nightmares, and I want to just tell you, do not do this. Um, don't use a nightmare to start an inner healing journey.
Mm.
Okay,
That's good.
Yes,
That's
Don't.
that
good.
is good.
don't, because there's a difference between a self-conditioned dream where the Lord's trying to say, "Hey, this is an attitude that I want to extract, or a lie that I want to extract," and the enemy just trying to slime you with
That's
garbage.
good.
And what I've seen people sometimes do is you go, "Hey, this is a nightmare. You need to throw it away," and they don't throw it away. They literally sit there and go, "Well, is this in my heart? Is this no?" Those kind of dreams are not a self-examination
good.
dreams. They're a
That's good.
lie, and a lie is not true, right?
That's
So we
good.
don't
That's good.
we're not gonna we're not gonna even entertain that, right? Don't
Mhm.
exalt it. We take captive every thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. These are the enemy's thoughts. They're not God's, and we want
That's
to
good.
pound into them real fast. So a lot of times nightmares too. You end up with more. The message is you should be afraid of something,
Yeah.
Right.
right? You should be afraid, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the spirit of fear tonight before we get into. I think we got about 6 dreams we're going to get through. Thank you to everybody who sent them in. If we didn't get to your dream tonight, we will try to follow up with you and get you an interpretation on the ones that we didn't do. We're not doing tonight. If that makes sense. Now, experientially, and when I say experientially, means that if you're trying to figure out what the spirit of fear feels like on a feeling level, because we know we have 5 senses in the spirit realm, fear a lot of times feels like a cold chill
Mm.
or something that it makes your hair stand up on end, like goosebumps. I think there's actually a children's series called
There is.
Goosebumps. La 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 la. I got a little Kamala's going today.
Oh my
The
gosh.
we It's got a little bit of goosebumps into it, and you start to feel that fear. I could tell you a story, even if it's something that's good, like one of my favorite ones I told in class today. My dad used to do a lot of deliverance and things on houses, and this one house he went to, um, he was praying in this lady's house, and he saw a picture of a clown in this lady's house, is a frame picture, and the clown's going like this with some smiley balloons, and he discerned that there was a spirit in there, and he said, "There's a demon in that picture. Take it down and get rid of it
Oh my
out of your
gosh.
house." And so the lady's like, "Well, but that's a picture from wherever." It meant something to her. It obviously did, because most people aren't hanging clowns in their house. Um, this person did. And he said, "You need to take it down." So she's like, "Okay." So she takes the picture down off of the wall. And when she does, the clown frowns on the
I don't
picture.
like that
It
dream.
goes, literally goes like that. Now, when a lot of times when I tell that story, something gets on you. This little chill comes in the room. You go, "Ooh, oh my God." Right? Even though it's a story about how God conquered darkness,
That's true. That's true.
even though it's a story about how God's conquering darkness and getting it out of the house, there's something in you that goes,
Yeah.
"Can they do that?
Yeah.
What else do I need to be afraid of?" Right? That's a spirit of fear.
Wow.
Okay. That's a spirit of fear on an experiential level.
Mhm.
And the way that you deal with most of the time, the spirit of fear, I've seen in a vision, it's literally like a demon that's like this big
Mm.
with really evil looking eyes, that can intimidate in the dark. But if the lights are on,
Come on.
you're like, "Hey, I could pump that thing."
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with a spirit of fear, one of the easiest things to do is just say, "Spirit of fear, I see you."
Mm.
And that chill
Oh, that's good.
goes away,
Yeah.
because you're like, "Oh, I see." And it's like, oh, I'm not really that big. Yeah, you're
Mm,
not. And that's one of those
that's
things where
good.
when just saying that phrase, I see you, it breaks something because fear operates in a mystery in the place where you can't control it operates in that mystery of something as bad is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's where fear likes to play. And so in Job, um, it says this in Job chapter 4. This is um, I'm going to be in Job 4, verses 12 through 21. And then we're going to it says this. Now a word was brought to me stealthily, and my ear received a whisper of it. Amid disquieting thoughts from the visions of the night, which is a type of dream, when deep sleep falls on men, dread came upon me, and trembling and made all my bones shake. Okay. And a spirit passed by my face, and the hair of my flesh bristled up. That's the chill. That's
mhm,
the
Mhm.
that's what we're talking about. Okay. And it said, I stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes, and there was silence, and then I heard a voice. This is actually one of the things where this is one of the reasons why people say like they see shadows, right? It's a form, but you can't,
mm,
I'm sorry, it's a form, but you can't discern its appearance,
yeah.
right? It's just a shadow. It's a form, but just no
Yeah.
eyes and stuff like that. Um, and I'm not going to get off on a rabbit trail. What that could be, those can be two different types of things, but I'm just saying it operates this. Now, this is what, so that it says there was silence and then I heard a voice. Okay. And so I want you to know that when we're talking about um, these things right here, this is what the spirit of fear often tries to do. It's the areas in our lives that it tries to talk to us about. It says this, verse 17, can a mankind be just before God? And can a man be pure before his maker? That's the first thing fear tries to get in. It says, you cannot be justified before God and you can't be pure before God. You
Mm.
cannot. And
Wow.
that attacks the very thing that Jesus said when he said, when he died for our sins and we're raised up with life, and we are justified by God, right? And we're being sanctified and cleansed. We're in that being purified thing, and the answer is yes. We can be all of those things. We can be those things before God. But the enemy tries to plant a fear in us that we're not that. Okay, so going on to the verse 18, it says he puts no trust even in his servants, and against his angels he charges errors. How much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who is are crushed before the moth, between the morning and evening they're broken into pieces, unobserved they perish forever. Is not their tent cord plucked up within them, and they die without wisdom? That's some of the other things that fear likes to say. It says that God is not going to trust you
Mm,
fully.
wow.
It says he doesn't put any trust in his angels. Now, what angel is saying that? The one that rebelled.
Yeah.
Right? It's trying to sit there and tell
Wow.
you that God will not trust you. Even if you could be pure before God, he's not going to trust you with what he has. If the enemy can sow that into you, what does that mean? It means that you will not be able to come to God boldly, like it says in Hebrews 12. Therefore, because we have such a
Mm,
great priest, we can come boldly before the sons of grace. If you don't believe that he'll trust you, you'll never ever walk into your destiny because you go, well, I can't be, I
wow.
can't be,
Wow.
I can't be, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how fear it does. And then it says, look, you're just going to be broken and unobserved. You perish forever. Fear tries to tell you that you are alone, that
Yeah.
nobody notices you, that you're unobserved. And that is not, Jesus said, look, he goes, I know when one of these sparrows dies, are you not
Mm,
more valuable than one of these
mhm.
sparrows?
Mhm.
And you're worrying about what you're going to eat and drink and all that. I can take care of you,
That's
Mm.
good.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are the things that fear tries to do. When
Mm,
when you have dreams like that, it starts to try to plant seeds of lies that grow up and go, oh yeah.
yeah.
So those are just a few, quick bullet points of fear, what the spirit of fear feels like on experiential level, and then some of the things that it says, and we know that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love,
Mhm.
and of discipline. And so uh, that's the answer to all of these things that this spirit is saying, and reject it. Don't believe it, and it's kind of again, the enemy is an intimidator. He fights sometimes, but he more often he tries to intimidate you to where you walk away, turn your back, or ignore.
Mhm.
Those are his strategies. And so we're not going to do that tonight. We're going to jump right in.
Can I just add one
Yeah,
thing
go
that
for it.
comes to mind? I always think about fear, and the spirit of fear tries to lead you into a false or a wrong belief about God,
Mhm.
yourself, or
Mhm.
others. And so when
Hmm.
you are feeling those things, or when you're being approached by fear, or when you feel fear, it actually can be like a flashlight to a wrong belief about God, yourself,
That's
or
good.
others, because he just walked through all of those.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
and so don't be afraid. All right, don't be afraid. I know it's easier said than done, but
Yeah.
here's the thing: you gotta punch in on that. All
Yeah.
right, punch back is what I'm saying. Don't passively just take the enemy's
That's good.
garbage.
That's good.
Yeah.
Don't punch him. Um,
Punch.
or if you're, anyway. All right, we're gonna jump into some dreams. Thanks again to some of you guys that shot these into us. Some of these are nightmares, and some of them are more of a self-conditioned dreams where the Lord's going, "Hey, look, this is something I
Mhm.
want to touch." It's
And then
very
some of them are
important,
warfare too.
and some of them are warfare
Yeah.
dreams. So we're going to start off with, and because when we do these two things too, we have classes here at the church where we kind of jump into how you interpret dreams and all that. We're not going to get into that tonight, but I do want to we're going to read a couple of dreams here that have been sent. We don't use any last names when we get them. We don't have any last names, so we don't know per se who they are. Some of the people I think we know, but others we don't. So we just use last names. And I want to say this, if for future reference, when you are writing in a dream to us, the best thing to do is write the dream out first, the whole dream, and then add whatever commentary you think is necessary or backstory to the dream after you've told the dream. It helps us when we're reading it to not have it broke up, um, to where we're trying to figure out what's the real world and
Mhm.
what is the dream. Some of you who wrote in did that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Um, a plus for you. And but we're gonna read a few dreams here, and then we're just gonna share some of the things that we got on it. We've kind of talked about this a little bit beforehand, and I'm just gonna read. And this one is we're gonna start off with this one because it is a kid's dream, and like I was saying earlier, the enemy loves to send nightmares to children because he's trying to intimidate them
Mhm.
and tries to get them to shut that part off. You can shut
Yeah.
your dreams off. You can say, "Hey, I don't want to dream anymore." I know, I'm not going to go into my testimony, but I was at that place where I could do that. So the enemy loves to do that to kids, and he wants to make them not receive in that way.
That's
And the
good.
night is supposed to be a time of receiving.
Mm.
It's supposed to be a time of rest, and you know. Anyway, so I am going to read. This is from Brandy's daughter, and you know who you are if you're watching. Um, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit of this, beginning just because it's a little unclear. Um, there was like a seat on a horse, and Hannah had some of the stuff that we're gonna go through. She's gonna take the lead on it. There was a bicycle seat on a horse, and mommy was laying down. The horse was in mommy's closet, and my room had boxes. The horse flew up through a hole in the ceiling. Right when we flew up, the ceiling crumbled, and I went to the beach because I needed seaweed. And then an evil monster comes out of the ocean and saw us and started to chase us. And then the horse that we were at breathed fire and against this. And then there are goblins and monsters going to my house. Then the monsters were smashing mama. Then we flew up. And that's when we saw Jaden. He asked me to save him, Billy. Then the sea monster threw a gigantic rock at my horse, and the sea monster crushed my horse. And then I heard the words, Eliana, come up here. And I see a whole bunch of light. And then we started to heaven, the color of light I cannot describe. Okay. Now that is a young girl telling that dream. And one of the things when you're interpreting dreams is sometimes it's the symbolism and then sometimes it's the story. And so with kids, sometimes they might not grasp every little bit of the symbolism in it, and you can feed it to them bit by bit, but it's more important that they capture the story.
Mhm.
And Hannah, what were some of the things you got out of that one?
Yeah. Well, out of all of the dreams that were submitted, this one was my favorite one. And I think maybe portion of that is when I was growing up, I dreamed all the time. And I think a lot of people could say that when you're a kid, you're open and you're curious. And so I specifically have like nightmares that I remember to this day when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and they impacted me. And so I know, I guess there was just this heart of like, oh man, like I want this kid to know what this dream means. And there's so much hope in this dream, which warrants it a
Yeah.
warfare dream.
Hmm.
And so I was able to take this dream and kind of section it into different pieces. So I see the first piece as the little girl in the bedroom. And I see her mom, and then this horse. And so those are kind of like the three, maybe like main characters, central characters of the dream, and you kind of follow them into each scene. So the first scene is the little girl, she's in the bedroom, and then the horse takes her into the sky through the ceiling right before the ceiling crumbles. And then in the second portion, they're on the beach. And her and her horse are on the beach, and then all of a sudden a sea monster comes in and attacks, and the horse starts breathing fire to protect the girl. And the next time, and within each scene, they're going up. And so that's a common theme that we're
Hmm.
seeing. And John talks about in our dream interpretations, then Olive, and just in different classes here at CCS, is that the best way that maybe sometimes you can summarize a dream is thinking of it as a movie and giving it a title. So something that you could title this dream is Going Up, Come Up, My Child, or maybe Come Above the Battle. And so that's what I see this common theme of. In the bedroom, they go up. In the beach, they go even higher after the horse breathes fire and destroys the goblins and the monsters. And then in the second scene, it's kind of, or the third scene, it's kind of sad because the horse ends up dying. But at the very end, you can recognize that every time they go up, it's actually the Lord, because the Lord reveals himself and says, hey, come up higher. And in the last portion of the dream, this girl begins to see colors she's never seen before, and everything's bright and it's a completely different atmosphere. And so, what I saw through this dream is that this girl is experiencing levels of warfare, and that there's a crushing and a smashing that wants to happen in each part of the dream, but in each level she goes, there's a way of escape, there's a way to get out. The Lord has provided a way for her to come. And something that I think is really beautiful too is that this horse is kind of her way of strength. Horses in dreams usually mean and
Yeah.
defined
Power.
as strength and
Power.
power.
Yeah.
And so in each scene, this horse is kind of rescuing her, but at the very end of the scene, or very towards the end of the scene, the horse dies.
I know.
And so
It's
as
kind of a swerve. You're
it's a
like,
swerve, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. But what's really beautiful is that in Psalms 20, I'm gonna look this up. We were discussing this dream beforehand, and this was like, oh Lord, you're so good. To make this connection in the Bible and within her dream. But in chapter 20, verse 6, it says, now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven and with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of our Lord God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright. So, what I think is so beautiful and biblical about this dream is that in every single situation, this horse helps. But at the very end, where she's put her strength and she's found her solace actually dies. And so anyways, I'm kind of ranting on because I think this is just such a beautiful dream.
Yeah.
But the crux of this dream is that the Lord will provide a way out in every single battle for this girl. Um, and that at the very end, he will reveal himself even when your strength, what you've put your strength in, fails. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I just thought this was such a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful dream and a good
That
reminder for this little girl that the Lord is there to save her.
Yeah. And even though, yeah, I think that that's I love that interpretation because it's
Yeah.
basically like saying, hey, even in the places we're strong will fail us at some
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
but God is higher. He can
Yeah.
get us up higher
Yeah.
above the battle of that. So
And something too that I wrote down that I thought was really important for this girl or any kids to know is that you have access to God in scary
sure.
places. The Lord is a refuge, he's a fortress, and there's a way out in scary times. And so I think that's a good reminder not only for children but also for us that
Yeah,
we
because
remember.
and it's one of the things we tell you, like you can teach your kids, like you really can do anything in a dream. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're fighting in a dream and you realize that, if you're in a nightmare, you can create yourself a big old
Yes.
sword and chop
Yes.
the enemy's head off.
Yeah.
Or in the movie Inception, where the guy goes, "I need a bigger gun," and he just makes a machine gun and starts
Yeah.
shooting it. That's a reality in dreams, and if you
Mhm.
train your kids to do that,
You
it's
can.
helps them not be intimidated by the spirit world.
Yeah.
All right, so that
It's
was
also, real quick, a great opportunity for a parent to talk to a child about a dream that
Mm.
the Lord is there for you and that He's speaking to you.
Yeah.
That this dream says the Lord is speaking to you. It doesn't matter what age you are, He is a God who speaks. And that, and to confirm, you're hearing from the Lord, and
That's
to
good.
really reinforce that even at a younger age.
Mm.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, because God wants to speak to, and this isn't in the Bible anywhere, but it just by observational observance is a lot of kids have destiny dreams when they're around eight
Mm.
or nine. They have these
Wow.
dreams
Yeah.
where they're 8 or 9, and God starts to talk to them about what they're
What they're called to
called
do.
to do.
That's
So
good. That's
something to
good.
keep in mind. All right, now the next on the agenda, we got a couple short ones here. I'm gonna read this one. This is from Arlie, and this is a real short dream. Sometimes dreams can just be short sentences almost. I call them sentence dreams. They're just like blip. And so we're gonna do a couple of those real fast. This one's from Arlie, and it says, "I had a dream, and there were fleas of different sizes all over my bedroom, and it was terrible, and they were biting me." End of dream.
End
That would
scene.
be that would be more along the lines of a nightmare.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's close because without it's a little bit hard sometimes too because there's sometimes we'd like to ask questions and get a little bit fuller picture from the dreamer. When we're reading it on paper, we can't
Yeah.
ask some of those, but we got enough here to where we can go, hey, I think this is what he's saying.
Yeah, so
So
because it takes place in the bedroom, I think that it's speaking to rest, and it's showing that there are small, insignificant thing, because even a
Mm.
flea of many different sizes, there's still a small thing. That small, insignificant things are trying to disturb your rest, or maybe that you're allowing small
Mm.
things to
Mm.
disturb your rest, and cause an irritation or even like an inflammatory feeling, because fleas create like scratchy,
Like bite.
itchy. It's irritating.
Yeah.
And so, and I thought about in I think it's in First Samuel when David is calling out to Saul and saying like, "Who are you looking for? This dog, this flea?" Because it's something he's calling himself insignificant. So I just feel like right now that dream is just showing you that either you're allowing it or small things are trying to disturb your rest. And so my advice, if I've got a dream like that, would be to ask God, what are the things that I'm allowing to disturb my rest,
Mm.
and let Him just show you what those are. And some of
That's
them may be
good.
bigger, and some of them may be super tiny. And yeah, and I feel like that the Lord will give you Holy Ghost raid to
Amen.
take care of it.
Amen.
He'll send that cloud right now. That's cheesy. I'm sorry. Straight Velveeta on that one. All right, that one's a good little one. Let's go with another one. This is from Jonette. Um, Read hers. This is a dream. I am a student in high school. I'm on a trip with my high school group. We unload the buses at the hotel where we will spend the night. I start to follow those in my group when someone from another group gets in front of me, causing me to lose my group. I see someone who works in the hotel and asking for help, but he ignores me and I'm having trouble seeing. Okay. And the dream ends with them lost. Okay. Now, not a lot of redemption
No.
in that one. Again, we sit there and we go, okay, so that is this one is kind of on the edge for me. When I kind of walk through that one, I think it seems like it's kind of muted, but not totally dark. Like I don't feel like this sense of loss. I
Yeah.
don't feel
There's
like
not like an impending doom.
No,
doom.
no.
I mean, a nightmare, like you feel the claw marks, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that, you just, yeah, it just has that vibe to it. So this one probably a little bit of lean more toward the Lord's trying to speak to something He wants to touch in the heart that
Mhm.
says that that I'm going to lose. A hotel is a place of transition, and this is a high school group, so it probably goes back to something around that time period for them. It's something that's probably deep in a way back, and it's a thing that says I'm going to get separated from the group, and I'm not going to know where to go, and I can't
Mhm.
see.
Mhm.
And nobody will help me.
Yeah.
It's a lie from the enemy
Yeah.
where it's trying to say like this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that's kind of just it's a very straightforward dream, not a lot of complicated symbolism in there. It's and so what this is like we say all the time here, dreams are an invitation to a conversation.
Yeah.
So you can go, okay, Lord, is there any way in me is
Mm.
there anything where I just feel like I'm going to get separated and nobody's going to help me. I'm going to in times of transition, because a hotel in times of transition, I will not be able to follow and I won't be able to see. And it and it
Mm.
and the Lord can show you where that root of that is, and He can yank that up. He
That's
can
good.
in that conversational point there, you can understand God can start to speak to you and start to say, "Hey, this is my heart for you. I'm here. I'll never leave
Mm.
you or forsake you."
Mm. Mhm.
That's a promise we have from the
Mm.
Lord.
Mhm.
And that one's kind of I think that's a good dream because it kind of just shows us where the enemy's trying to, plant a lie in us, or it's a self-condition, a dream. And so
Mm.
I think that's a good dream because it makes you just go, okay, is that anywhere in me?
Yeah. Can I add
Um,
something to that
yeah.
too? And I don't know if you had anything.
No.
But I wrote down, if there's a nightmare and you find no hope, find it in scripture. And so I was reminded of the three parables that Jesus talks about. And I think it's so beautiful whenever Jesus speaks in the Bible and he repeats it twice, like truly, truly, or he talks about something over and over again. He wants to emphasize it. He wants to say, hey, this is really important to me. So I want to make it super important to you. And so he tells three stories back to back about something being lost: a coin, a sheep, and then a son. And he says, in all those three stories, that I'm coming after you, I'm going to find you. So the father searches for the lost. And so whenever you have, dreamer, whoever this is, whenever you're having these dreams, like John says, remind yourself, preach to yourself the truth, that the truth is, I am not alone. I am found. The Lord is pursuing me, even when I feel lost, even when I feel alone. And so I just think that's such a good reminder, is that even when you're in a strange place, even when you're in transition, the Lord is taking care of you. Even when you're going, off the right track, or off the right track, right, into a wrong path, because that's what was happening. And the dream, and that's what you see in these three stories: the sheep and the son and the coin, they're not where they belong, but the Lord will pursue you even in that.
Mhm.
So I think that's really beautiful to remind yourself.
Yeah. That's good. All right. We're going to move on to a longer one. Bigger story for the next one here. This one
This one's
comes
so
to us.
good.
This one is this is I know this is from Shelby, and you phrase it as a nightmare, and I can see why, but I really think this is a good dream to start some conversation points with you. Okay, so this is a dream from Shelby. It says, I was awakened and find myself in a messy house surrounded by baby stuff, toys, puzzles, diapers, clothes. I'm standing over a boiling pot of turtles. They are plastic and rubbery and red with X's for their eyes.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
that's
out of
a
a horror movie.
yeah, I know. Turtles with red X's on their eyes. My ex husband is there, being kind and patient as I am anxious and confused about where I am and what is going on. I accuse him or someone else that's there of drugging me to feel this out of sorts and not know what is going on. Other people are coming and going, and I feel judged and shameful for being in this place and not knowing what is happening.
Mm.
Okay. So that's the first scene. Then the dream switches and suddenly, ex-husband and I are in a car and he's driving. I tell him to avoid traffic and to avoid a congested bridge, and he corrects me that he already thought about it as we drive toward a ferry. The water is tumultuous. I love that. Tumultuous. I can't stop saying it. The water is tumultuous and is crashing over the deck, and he changed lanes to avoid most of the water and waves. And we park in the center lane. There are just 3 lanes. A big white van drives up toward us in the next lane and is swept off the ferry right beside me and begins to sink. I jump out of the car, panicking and watching and ready to jump in the water to help. The driver is a large, middle aged man with long dark hair. He calmly swims out of the car and comes to the side of the ferry, and I am yelling as the waves are still crashing around, "Is there anyone else in the van?" He says no as he pulls himself up onto the ferry. We introduce ourselves, and although I don't catch his name, as I try to shake his hand, he pulls it back, saying his hand is hurt, and he shows me how deformed it is. Okay. Um, there's a little bit of more they say happens in the dream, but this is what sticks out most. They wake up with their alarm chiming, beep, beep, beep. Horrible feelings of sin, shame, and darkness. Okay. Now, this one is a little bit, it's a, I mean, you can make a short film off that because
Yeah.
it's such
Yeah, yeah.
a picture. And then, kudos to you, Shelby. You wrote this down. You put in some really pertinent information afterwards, which really helped us when we read it to look at it with some clarity. So, um, and this is one of the things that I thought I just want to one of the things that you wrote that I thought was really I just want to kind of address this. It says, ironically, I have the worst dreams after a day or night or early morning awesome connections with God. In this case, I had a great day before traveling alone for hours in the car with powerful podcasts of truth and worship. She talks about how that morning she woke up and was reading something about relationship books and scripture, and all this stuff. Okay, so they're happily married. She's happily remarried now for a long time. So um, sometimes, and this is what I was going to bring out about this. There is such a thing called a self-conditioned dream, where the Lord wants to say, "Hey, this right here, I want to extract this from you. I want you to pull this out of you. This isn't who I designed you to be." And it's not a coincidence that when you have a great connection time with God, and then all of a sudden you have a dream like this, which puts he goes, "Hey, this right here,
That's
I
good.
want to extract it."
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you go, all the feelings that you described, sin, shame, and darkness. That's one of the things where the Lord goes, in this area right here,
Mm,
I want to take that off
that's good.
you, and I want to move this from you. Okay, so we're gonna we're gonna just roll through this, and I'll say, and then Karen, you can bounce off whatever if you got anything additional. um the first scene of the dream is really just how the person just feels in the natural about that situation or was a thing.
Mhm.
I know, some of the stuff they wrote, they've just from what you wrote, it seems like you've done, some healing work and you're healed in some areas on that. This dream is kind of saying though, this is what I want to put my finger on this specific thing. So the first part of the dream is how the dreamer feels, right? There's this disorientation about it. There is the whole thing with the turtles. That's a
Mm.
graphic image. Whenever the Lord there's a graphic part of the story, it literally means that He wants you to catch the details. So when we look at a turtle, turtles are slow. The fact that they have X's over their eyes, there's no vision, and they can go into a shell, and they're
Mhm.
being cooked, right? They're being cooked, and that's what was happening in your relationship that at that time that was everything that you felt like, man, do I need to go in my shell? I'm getting cooked. I've got stuff that's covering my eyes. I don't have any vision and all that. And so that's where all of the things you described, you said you felt judged, shameful, being in this place, not knowing what's happened. That dream was telling you that this is the attitude that was happening, but now and they've dealt with that to a measure from what you wrote afterwards. You've dealt with that in a measure, but the key part of this is the second part of the dream. Second part of the dream is you've got your ex-husband and you're in a car and he is driving.
Mm.
Okay. That's the key point. Whenever especially if we're separated from somebody and you have an ex driving, that is kind of the Lord's way of telling a story like this is driving you toward this. Okay. And in this dream, you're telling him, hey, do this, do this, do this, and he's avoided it. And then you're trying to rescue somebody out of the goodness of your heart, but you're trying to rescue somebody that doesn't need help and they don't even really want a full relationship. They don't want to shake hands. They go, oh, I'm wounded. I don't want that. And um that's kind of so the conversation point about that dream is to kind of say, okay, Lord, are there times where I'm there's because I have felt this way that I'm being driven into crossing into something or getting involved in storms that I don't need to be in, and I'm trying to help somebody where I really don't need to help them. They really don't want my help. And so I think that's the conversation point that the Lord's kind of trying to start there with you because, again, all of the things that you woke up with, all those feelings, He wants to take all that away. And that's kind of what I got out of that a dream. I think that's a good dream to um, y- you know, if you've had a relationship, of any significant amount, sometimes stuff just seems to stick to you for whatever reason, and you don't realize it till later on that your behavior is affected because
Mhm.
you're just trying to adapt or whatnot. You end up overcompensating sometimes. So I think this dream is just kind of pointing you to those are the things. Don't let the past drive you into getting involved in a storm or anything that
That's
you don't
good.
really
Yeah.
you don't have any part of.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, one of the things this isn't necessarily said in your dream, but I would guess that you're a really merciful person and that you love to just help everybody. And this dream is saying, hey, you don't have to
Mm.
help everybody. I've got things for you to just try anyway. You got any other
Um,
thoughts on that,
yeah,
Karen?
like first when I think of the handshake, so I started at the back end of the dream. I think of a handshake either is greeting or introducing, or it can be a covenant, like let's shake on it. And so when I read the dream, I felt like that something in that time period at that time was overwhelming, and you took on something during that time period or in that relationship that caused anxiety or uneasiness or a wanting to be in your shell or feeling like you're under pressure or confusion because you were confused, and that thing is still able to drive you into situations where you feel compelled to either connect or be introduced to, or try to make a covenant with something that's unhealthy, or with a person that's not whole, or a situation that you're not supposed to be involved in. And with based on some of your extra information, I wondered, this is not an interpretation, this is me just wondering if there was some negative self-talk that took place there, that the Lord at that time in your life that maybe still be lingering, and the Lord wants you to go back to that and just get rid of that so that
Mhm.
you are not being driven by something um still from the past, like that creates an uneasy feeling.
That's good.
Yeah. So, all right, rock and roll. Let's move on to another one. We've got Camille here. I'm going to read this one. We've got we got two more dreams here. We're going to get to. This is the first one. Camille, the dream starts off in the real world where I'm going to a new store that had some kind of low dollar amount name, like the $1.70 store or something. Because inflation.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
the store has a shelf full of different kinds of bread behind the counter, and three girls are getting bread. Then it seems like it's for free. I look at the menu on the counter and it says that a loaf of Italian or garlic bread is free. And I obviously try to get some garlic bread. That seems so obvious to me too. I would totally go for the garlic bread. But the cashier, when they grab the garlic bread, the cashier asks for my card and ends up charging me for something dollars for a paper plate with a bit of bread and cheese on it. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to my car in the parking lot of a shopping center, and I'm getting into my car. Three guys start trying to break into my trunk. I try to start the car so I can get away, but it takes too long, and they grab my backpacks. And later on, there are for some reason two of my backpacks. She's got two backpacks, and they're both trying to grab them. I try to fight the guys to get my bags back, but they run off towards the shopping center. I chase them down. There's a huge crowd of people walking towards the shopping center. I try to ask them for help, but nobody helps. Eventually, they
Oh.
outrun me, and my dad is suddenly there. I'm crying about it and how my sketchbook was stolen, but my dad says, "Don't worry about it." Then I see the guys again, and I'm about to go after them. Good for you. The dream shifts. Suddenly, it's some sort of 3D animated Disney thing where Mickey and his friends are in this at some abandoned island with this little duckling. The little duckling was previously with Donald Duck, but it seems like now it was abandoned by him, or at least it thinks that it has happened, and it's walking along the shore when it sees Mickey in a beached fishing boat still holding out his rod. Mickey tries to get the duckling to come over to him, but it is hesitant at first. It
Mm.
eventually comes over and gets comforted by Mickey. Then, as Mickey is about to give the duckling like a little baby kiss, like you would kiss a baby, he suddenly has a duck bill, and the kisses are now duck bill kisses. Then I woke up.
That's such a cute dream.
Wow. Why are dreams wild like that? Well, I tell you, dreams are weird and wild like that because they're designed to provoke our curiosity.
Yeah, that's good.
They're designed to provoke our curiosity to go, that's not just pizza. It's God being
Mm,
creative and telling
mhm,
a story.
mhm.
And, you think about all the different shows and stuff that you consume and how there's a creative element to all of them. And the Lord is no different. He's
Yeah,
better at it.
yeah,
And you ever watch a movie where you go, what are they trying to say? It's the same thing. So,
yeah.
Karen, you had some juice on
Oh
this
my
one.
gosh, your
um
interpretation is beautiful.
oh well, first of all, I mean, I definitely agree with what John is saying, and this person definitely has to be creative because there was a sketchbook in their backpack. And so I think that the Lord is using your own creativity to give you a dream
Yeah,
and
that's
to
beautiful.
get you to spark a conversation. But listening to the dream, I just kind of took an overall view of it, and I felt like it was highlighting maybe a feeling of being taken advantage of, or things that you value being stolen from you, and no one is able to help. Even though someone like the dad in the dream comforted you, but didn't really help. And then when it switches to the cartoon like thing, I think it's tapping into the childlike creative wonder in you.
Mhm.
And that childlike part of you feels maybe abandoned in some way, but the kind one who fishes and gives you
Mm.
kisses is what kept
Mm.
popping into my head. Meets you where you are and actually leans in to kiss you and
Yeah.
actually looks like you. And
That's
so I feel
good.
like this is a picture of like just what it looks like what the world gives versus what Jesus gives.
Mhm.
And it made me think of John 14:27, peace I leave you, peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do
Mhm.
not be discouraged, do not be afraid. And I just feel like that this dream is just highlighting the difference between what happens in the world and how that makes you feel versus how the Lord makes you feel. And I just feel like because Mickey was fishing and was leaning in to give you a kiss and was is bringing you in because you there was the duck was abandoned. And I feel like
Oh.
that you're the little baby duck. And he is a picture. I actually think he's a picture of the Lord who does. He's a fisher,
Yeah.
and he fishes and gives you kisses. And I
That's
think that
good.
that is just extending a peace to you.
Mm.
That there's a dependability there. No matter what, you're not abandoned. You're not lost, and he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of like the ugly duckling story for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
How does the ugly duckling story end?
Well, he turns into
To a
like this
beautiful
beautiful
swan.
swan,
Okay.
right?
Well, I think I'm just picking up something
But
prophetic
but there is,
too.
yeah, no, I thought of that too when I read
Yeah.
this dream because
Yeah.
and you say what you want to say, but I mean, there is that the ugly duckling felt like it was all alone, and
Yeah,
that's one of the
exactly.
things that's going
Exactly.
on in this
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I was just gonna kind of pinpoint that
You are
that
yeah,
there's
not alone.
there's this, feeling of isolation
Yeah.
that in the story of the little ugly duckling, not that you're an ugly duck, Camille, but that it feels isolated, it feels like it doesn't belong. And at the very end, there's this like process that this duck goes through, and he finds where he belongs, he finds his community, and then he also blossoms and becomes something new. And
Yes.
so
And the
there's
duck doesn't see the truth of what the duck truly is. The duck is
yes,
truly a swan.
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Well, and I think at the end, I think it's a weird picture with Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
turning into Donald Duck, but
Yeah.
in some way it's different, but it's still natural,
Yeah.
in a sense, like the duck is the natural way that it would get kissed by
Oh,
a
Actually,
sure,
duck
I think Mickey
sure.
father,
Mouse just grew a beak.
like a duck father. Yeah. Yeah.
That was my interpretation. I
Yeah.
thought that's what happened, which is
So I think
cute as well.
that's a
Yeah.
cool
I do
dream.
too.
I
I
think,
feel like the Lord's wanting to give you peace
yeah,
about your relationship with the Lord
Yeah,
and depending on Him and not worrying about how the world makes you feel.
sure. I
that's
think
good.
that's good.
And I'm gonna add
Yeah.
one more prophetic element. It's not
Yeah.
interpretation of it, but something that the Lord was reminding me just a couple days ago was that my dreams when I was a kid were so vivid. I remember writing stories about them. And so Camille, like what Miss Karen was saying, there's an artistic aspect of who you are. And I believe that the Lord will write down your dreams, keep record of your dreams, because I think there's a creativity that the Lord wants to reveal himself through, and that you can
Hmm.
write stories, um, art, create from this place of dreams, and it'll be a
Yeah.
redemption story that you end up writing and creating with the Lord. So keep a hold of your dreams, even when they seem a little wonky or a little funky. There's something that the Lord wants to communicate and bring hope to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's a good so yeah, I think that's interpretation. And it also, fishes and kisses sounds like a Valentine's Day fundraiser that we'll be having.
Oh my gosh.
Valentine's Day banquet for couples, fishes and kisses.
That's
Right?
epic.
I'm going to talk to Jimmy and Karen about that. Whenever they say, can't you see that?
I
Like
can.
little sailor hats for the guys. We're just having fun. All right. We're going to have fun with our last but not least dream. This one's from JV. And this is an interesting dream. It says unknown 2019 day unknown 9 p.m. I was with and they said, and this is where they write what's important on the front end. Not necessarily bad. It was good. Um and so in the dream, um they I should back up. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. The dreamer tells about how they basically were on a car ride at 9 o'clock on a certain year,
Mhm.
and they fell asleep. And in the dream, they were very conscious of the fact that they were in the same year that they were in. Okay, so this was the dream. In my dream, I was back in the car, same time, same date, same everything. Then out of the blue, out of nowhere, I'm sorry, not out of the blue. Out of nowhere, I saw something in the sky that my mom could not, nor could anyone else. I saw a quadruple winged angel, and his face was hidden behind an elaborate kabuki mask, what that was in the form of a wolf face. The angel was wearing scarlet and silver robes with small blue stars and white diamonds sewed in. His wings were a bright silver wings with the tips as sharp as daggers. He was, and this is my educated guess, hovering at 29,032 feet, the exact height of Mount Everest. Okay. In a booming voice, the angel spoke to me, saying, "Everything is on the line. The hunt begins now." And that's when I woke up. Okay. So, short dream, bold imagery,
Mhm.
and a couple of really specific things that are kind of um, exact. Now, when we're looking at this dream, I mean, we always are noticing that when there's angels show up, and we're always our ears are always like, "Hmm," and four winged, six winged angels were like, uh, we're perking up here. But this angel, I'm not. When I read this, and then we have the 29,000, so it's a high place, right?
Mhm.
I think that's a pun for a high place or an atmosphere. And I think this angel, most of the angels that we see in the scripture, especially of the four winged variety, they don't have a mask. They could have animal faces, but there's four
Mhm.
faces that are in there. A wolf is not one of them,
Mhm.
and it is a kabuki mask, which if you don't know, that's an aspect of um, Japanese theater. And in some cases, I didn't even say this when we were talking earlier. In some cases, in kabuki theater, the men dress up like women, so
Oh,
they appear to be something that they're actually
but they're not.
not.
Wow.
And so that is kind of a wolf, not exactly a good symbol in scriptures, right? Behold, I send you among
No.
sheep, among the wolves. That's the rest of the world. And so the fact that it's a wolf and that it's kabuki theater where not everything is as it appears leads me to believe that this angel that shows up in this dream is not one that is a good one. It's something that might be dazzling to look at,
Mm.
and it's in a high place or an atmosphere, but it's not. And it's saying the hunt is on. Everything is on the line. The hunt begins now. And so I think this dream is part of the dream feels a little bit incomplete. Just in my mind, like there might be more to the story. I think if the dream kept going, and there would probably be some more. But um, I think that this dream is saying that the picture of the angel has a very fantasy feel to it, and this might be a little bit of a prophetic interpretation, but I think this dream is kind of trying to tell you, hey, be aware that stay out of the realm of a fantasy
Mm.
element
Mhm.
in a high place. Stay out of the fantasy thing because things are not always what they appear.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
there's an aspect of fantasy that can even get us into thinking that there's more on the line and I'm being hunted. The hunt is on, and that could impart fear. That so I mean I think that's what that dream is saying is I don't listen to that message of fantasy. Don't get into the realm of fantasy, and that can look like I'm just talking. Your dream doesn't say this, but I'm just talking practically. That can look like excess of video games. It could look like if you read the Japanese manga or manga, whatever they call it, just getting too deep into
Or
that and
binge
that
watching
fantasy.
shows.
Watching shows.
Mhm.
If you're watching Death Note or something just ask if you should keep watching that. And if you don't know what it is, you can Google it later. Um, so I think it's saying, hey, but one of the things that when I was reading this dream and I was thinking about the hunt, I want to read this because I think, like we were talking about earlier, if the enemy's trying to convince us that something the hunt is on and that we're going to be hunted and there's something that's beautiful, that's a fantasy thing, and it's trying to keep us from something,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? This is what I really felt like for you, JV. I remember this scripture in Jeremiah 16 where he talks about um, how God's going to restore Israel. And he says this, Jeremiah 16:16. It says, "Behold, I'm going to send for many fishermen, declares the Lord, and they will fish for them. And afterwards I will send for many hunters, and they will hunt them from every mountain and every hill and from the cleft of the rocks. Um, for my eyes are on all their ways, they're not hidden from me, and nor is their iniquity concealed from my eyes." And he said, and then he goes on, he says he's going to pay the iniquity, and then he's going to rescue them. um, and it's something that it's so he says he's going to send fishermen, which is one type of evangelism, where you fish, you wait around, see what comes, and then you have the hunters, which is a specific target. And my thought was is that I really just get this sense for you, JV, that God's created you to be a hunter, where it's
Mhm.
like he tells you, like, this is the land that you hunt in. For the little I know about hunting, you have a certain spot that you get in, and then you just look for stuff to go after. And I think the Lord's given you a gift to where he can put you in one spot and you can just look for things um, to go after. And so I think that dream is a little bit of a warning dream, but it's also, I think it comes with a promise to say, hey, hunt what the Lord wants you to hunt in the world, and don't get involved, don't get too involved, caught up in the fantasy
That's good.
um, aspect of it. We have one question. Can we submit dreams after this is over? And the answer is yes, you can. Our dream portal will be open. We're not going to do another live show, but we will try to here at the school. We go through dreams, so send them in. We'll go through them, and we will try to get back to you in a couple of weeks. Huh? You can send them into our dream portal. It's on our app. I don't know the email right off the part, but it's there on our app. Just to let you know, you'll see the dream thing. It'll say the dream portal is open. That's where you can send us a dream. We will try to get back to you as quick as we can. May take a week or two, depending on our schedules, but we'll try to get back to you on that. If the portal is closed, you can't send any dreams, obviously, right? So, all right. Well, I want to finish off tonight. We just want to pray and ask the Lord to send light to you. And I just wanted to, just before we went on tonight, I was like, you know what? Um, let's ask the Lord if we can just have some words of knowledge for anyone who's watching this and watching the replay, and see if the Lord just wants to speak prophetically to that. And so I've just said, hey, let's stretch ourselves and ask the Lord for, if you don't know anything about a word of knowledge, it's a specific piece of information that lets the Lord know that He knows where you're at, that you didn't know in the natural. It's rarely directional. It's just a saying of like, hey, I see you, I know where you're at. So we're just going to take 15 seconds, right? If you're a good student, right? If you've been cheating, already asking, right? And we're just gonna be still for just a second. And we're gonna say that, then we're gonna close it out, and that way. So, Father, we just thank you for tonight, Lord. We thank you that, Lord, you're a living, uh, active God with a living, active word that's able to divide between the soul and the spirit. Lord, we thank you for the time that we've had tonight, Lord, and we just ask right now for everyone that's watching or watching a replay, Lord, that your prophetic spirit would rest on them in the night hour, Lord, that we would be people who not under know that something spiritual is happening, but we'll have understanding of how to administrate the Spirit, Lord. I just ask that right now for every person who's watching. We release that right now. And um, the picture that I saw is I felt like the Lord. I saw a picture of the Delta silver wings that you get. It's like a little pin
Mm.
as a thing, and I saw that. I felt like there's somebody watching the stream. You have one of those Delta silver pins, and I felt like what the Lord was saying was, in the same way those things are silver, and silver is representative of wisdom. There's a fresh spirit of wisdom coming to you that
Mm.
you're gonna there's wisdom that where it's wisdom has had it to me. When you have wisdom, it means you grasp certain knowledge, and then understanding is when you know how to administrate that. And I just feel like that is coming for you, whoever that is. If you have one of those pins, take it and be blessed with that.
Mm.
um Anybody else?
I saw this is weird. I saw a picture of someone eating jelly beans and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? But then what I see, it's like I see inside your head and it's like tap dancing inside your head. It's like all these thoughts, all these worries. I just feel like a swirl of tap dancing. But then I heard the Lord say, it ain't no thing, jelly bean. And I feel like
Aw.
he's just saying you need to just toss some things out and
Mm.
not let them run like a loop and tap dance in your head. And I don't even, you might be stress eating jelly beans. Um, and so I feel like the Lord's like, you just need to let some things go and not let your mind run around like in dancing circles. Um, and so I don't know, I just feel like it's a time to say, Lord, um, let me just have your peace
Mm.
and just let go of these tap dancing thoughts. I feel like you just can't let something go. So if you're eating jelly beans and your mind is racing, that's for you. Let it go. It ain't no thing, jelly bean.
That's good. I feel so affectionate from the Lord. Um, when John was praying, I saw a Starbucks, like the Starbucks logo, and I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? And I just feel like there's somebody watching on the stream that works at Starbucks. And I feel like the Lord has this grace for you to speak and to have conversations with people that not a lot of people can have or Christians can have. And Starbucks and just the coffee industry really invites a very liberal, kind of like spiritual kind of people who are just open in that way. And so I feel like there's just a grace for the Lord that's on your life and in the season to have conversations and to open up doors in their life and plant seeds about the spirit realm and about the Lord. So whether that's watching the stream and talking about what you're learning through about dreams or anything, I just feel like there's an open door for grace for conversations in your workplace.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in and watching with us tonight here live. We will, this will be up, of course, on a replay. And like I said, if you go to the app and the website's there and the portal's open, go ahead and send us your dreams. If we didn't get to it tonight, we will get back to you. Thanks again, and may the Lord bless you and keep you and
Mhm.
cause His face to shine upon you. Today is a day to receive. Um, so, yeah, be blessed. Take it easy. We'll see y'all next time.